Awesome. Well, yeah, let's go ahead and jump in here and get started here. My name is Josh Carter. I handle partnerships here at Hatch and marketing as well. And I'm excited to be partnered up with Joe at Contractor Dynamics. They've got an awesome program. So Joe, I mean, just quick soundbite. What do you do? What does Contractor Dynamics do? You've been in the industry for a number of years now, right?
Yep. Yeah, we started 8 years ago, almost 9 years ago now, actually. And so most companies in the roofing industry, the contracting industry, are really good at sales. Very few have any semblance of like marketing knowledge or marketing systems. So we are really on a mission to educate roofing and contracting companies on marketing, on building their brands, on creating predictable growth. And we do that with our training programs where we train companies on how to do marketing, whether it's something like today, like Google Ads, Google Maps, SEO, Facebook ads, social media advertising. We are the marketing training company for the roofing industry. So that's all I got. Not all I got, but I'm going to keep it nice and short.
Right on. Yeah. And a few months ago, we did a session on Facebook ads mastery for contractors. So you can head on over to our webinar section on our website, usehatchapp.com, and check that out and see the recording. Cool. Yeah. So just want to get a quick idea for how people are doing Google My Business today. How are you getting leads from your Google? Are you getting leads, directly from your Google My Business listing? Yes, I'm getting a lot. Yes, I'm getting a few. Not sure or no idea. Curious as we get started here, guys, just kind of the level of knowledge that you guys have in this, and that'll help determine how we kind of go through this presentation. So my assumption is a lot of you guys are getting some leads or you're not sure. And so we're going to touch on, ways that you can get more leads through that and also ways that you can track as well. Right, Joe?
Yeah, just to clarify, not really clarify, but to explain something up front. Google Maps and Google My Business are one and the same. Google Maps is like the front-facing interface that everyone sees. Google My Business is kind of the back end of that drives that. So Google GMB, Google My Business, Google Maps, kind of one and the same for this discussion.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. So it looks like a majority of you guys are getting leads from your GMB listing, but a few. So our goal here today is to help you change that answer to yes, you're getting a lot. And for those of you who are not sure or no idea, whatever, one and the same, we're going to help you guys make sure you're tracking and get that all situated so that way you can measure that. Because there's a lot of ways that you can, track the clicks from your Google My Business listing onto your website with a tracking code. And also natively, Google provides that tracking for call-ins, which Joe's going to talk through. So yeah, thanks for participating, guys, in that poll. Today, we're going to cover how to optimize your GMB listing, create that listing if you haven't done that already. Quick Google search can help you determine if you actually have a GMB listing. Search for your company on Google. You'll likely see the listing on the right. And if it's not active, then it'll say claim this listing or something like that. You can also log in at business.google.com. I believe that's the URL to go in and jump in and get that started. We're also going to talk through some SEO, search engine optimization, that you can do to have your listing show up first for Google search and Google Maps. That's all important. And then lastly, obviously, the whole goal here is to get appointments booked. So we're going to talk through some speed to lead best practices, some templates that work for roofers to get these appointments scheduled and ultimately close more business directly from Google My Business. So let's jump in here. I know, Joe, you talked a little bit about what you guys do, but I really want you to highlight the training program because we have a lot of customers using it, and I think it's phenomenal.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you. So we help contractors, roofing companies leverage digital marketing, social media advertising to create more predictable growth. Most of you on this who know us, who know me, kind of probably think of our company Contractor Dynamics as social media advertising. However, we do have training programs that cover everything, like I said, from Google My Business, Google Maps, one and the same, SEO, Google Ads, LinkedIn, the whole thing. We lead with Facebook Ads Mastery, which is our social media advertising training program. because that's the most accessible. That's where you're going to get the fastest traction, be able to build your brand, be able to quantify results and everything like that. So everyone kind of comes through that program first. As far as our paying clients go through that program first, and then we have others on the back end for specific things on the search end. There's social and there's search, right? When people need a roofing contractor, they're going to go to Google and they're going to search. They're going to do the research. So that's why Google is so important. And we use Google because Google has over 90% of the search market right now. So they're obviously the dominant player. No surprises there. And on the social end, it's where we create our brand. It's where we can reach out to people in different areas that might be outside of our immediate geographic area. So it's a powerful 1-2 strategy to have both the search component nailed down and the social component nailed down. So that's a little bit about what we do. Again, we train roofing and contracting companies on how to do this stuff in-house, so they have more control over the marketing and more control over their growth.
Yeah, I love that, Joe. The term I use the term "you owned marketing." Like, you control that brand. Your team is able to leverage all the tools here to execute on these ads. So great stuff here, guys. And I'm a really big fan of the program. A little bit about Hatch. We're a messaging app. We combine text, email, and voicemail connected to all your lead sources. So wherever you're getting leads, it could be from Facebook, Home Advisor, Angie's List, wherever you're getting leads from, we connect up to those lead sources. So as soon as somebody hits submit for a quote or for more information, we can instantly send a text, email, and a voicemail to that homeowner, and then continue to follow up until you get a response. So we put that speed to lead on autopilot, help you guys set more appointments. We're going to be touching on that specifically today, some strategies that work really well on the speed to lead side. We also help you guys on the rehash side. So we connect up to your CRM, whether it be, like a Job Nimbus, a Job Progress, Salesforce, whatever you guys are using for your CRM, we connect up to that. So that way, as soon as you disposition an appointment, maybe it's demo no sale, demo maybe, whatever you guys are using to mark those appointments as not solds, we automatically follow up over text, email, and voicemail. Same kind of cadence structure with the speed to lead, but the messaging's a little different, designed to surface those objections. So that way you can use Hatch, the Hatch inbox, to handle those objections and then close that deal or get that reset appointment. So again, it's the messaging app for your entire sales process. We don't just do speed to lead and rehash, but that's what we're really freaking good at. We can also put your appointment installations on autopilot, your appointment confirmations on autopilot, your install confirmations on autopilot, all that good stuff, because we're connected to your CRM and can listen to that. So without further ado, let's jump in. Joe, what is your Google Maps listing?
All right, cool. This is the first of kind of 3 sections that I have here, and then I'll pass the baton over to Josh to wrap things up and to tie in how Hatch kind of ties into all this. So first of all, I want to define what we're talking about here. And then next, I'm going to go into the strategy. And then I'm going to go into the tactics. So if you've seen any of my presentations before, you know that I'm a big fan of defining everything up front, really getting into the why and the strategy. And that way the tactics, when we go into them, will make sense. Tactics without strategy are useless, right? So we need to spend a little bit of time on this just so everyone really grasps it. So we're talking about Google Maps here. This is these 2 screenshots on the page, left and right, are one search engine result page, or SERP, S-E-R-P. They're just broken down here so we can display them on the presentation. So Josh did a search for roofers in Alexandria, Virginia. This is going to be a typical SERP, a typical search engine result page, where up here, and some of you might know this, by the way, but I just want to make sure that everyone is really on the same page here before we dive in. Up here, we're going to have the Google guaranteed listings here, the Google guaranteed ads. I know a lot of you are using those. Very, very lucrative, very, very important to have. We're not going to cover that today. Perhaps on a future webinar, Josh, we can get into that a little bit more. But we have the Google guaranteed up here. We have the Google ads here. And then below the ads, we're going to have this 3-pack. We're going to have 3 Google Maps results. Once in a while, there might be a 4th one in here that's going to be an ad, but normally we have a 3-pack, or the map pack, or the snack pack, as some people call it. And then below that, we have the organic results. So as you can see, a lot of the top of the homepage is taken up by ads. but the map section is really important because people can see who are the companies that are local to me. They can see reviews right away. You can go to websites. You can click to get directions. You can click to call and things like that. So there's increasingly a lot more companies are increasingly getting more phone calls directly from their Google Maps listing, even if people are not going to your website. So really important to show up here in the local results, especially if you've got a lot of great reviews to really wow people and get people to click on your listing. So this is what we're talking about here, these 3 results here. The goal here is to show up in the top 3 in your local area, right? So if you're in, say, I think I'm going to use, if you're in Alexandria, Virginia, if your business is located there, if that's your address, then it's going to be relatively straightforward to show up in the top 3. If you're trying to show up in the top 3 for an area that's like 30 minutes outside of Alexandria, that's going to be a little bit difficult because Google wants to serve up the most relevant and local search results. So your Google Maps listing is going to be hyper local. Where social media advertising can come in is if you want to really dominate an area that might be a half an hour or even an hour outside of your Maps listing, then that's where the social media advertising or the Google ads is going to come into place, because you're not going to be able to rank there organically because it's not near your location. So I just want to provide that kind of education up front. So that's what we're looking at here.
Yeah, Joe, you made a good point about the listings below, like Yelp, the home advisors, the Angie's List, like all that stuff is going to be showing up underneath the map. So if you're not up there, I mean, they might have to go to the 2nd or 3rd page otherwise, right?
Yeah, like these directories, Yelp, Home Advisor, you name it, they have gigantic budgets, way more than all of us, right? So they're gonna effectively do the SEO that's necessary to own that first page of the organic results. So yeah, there's usually like these days only 1 or 2 real like roofing companies on that first page in the organic results. So getting up here on top of those guys in the maps is something that Yelp and Home Advisor can't do. They can't get into the maps. So that's why it's so important to get up there.
Gotcha. And question for you, Joe, and not to throw this on you, but like Alexandria is like 15 minutes away from, or 30 minutes, probably an hour, if depending on traffic, from DC. So what do you do if you are in a suburb or your address is in a suburb of a major city, but you people aren't necessarily searching for roofers in Alexandria, Virginia? They might be searching for roofers in DC area. What's the kind of approach that you take with that?
Yeah, we'll get into that, but like Google gives you the opportunity to add 20 service areas. So you can add DC, you can add maybe some neighborhoods there. It's still going to require some work to show up. It's always going to be easiest to rank like, within a mile radius of your address. The further you go out, it's going to be, and I'm going to show you a visual of that. The further you go out, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. It's just going to require a little bit more time and work to be able to do that, especially in a city.
Yeah, gotcha. Makes sense. Thanks, Joe.
So that being said, Josh, like if anyone here is just like kind of starting out, or maybe you've been in business a couple of years and it's time to buy, your first office or lease your first office. Obviously Google is not going to be your only factor in deciding where your physical location is. But if you do have a choice, get your office or get your address in an area that is lucrative for you, in terms of business, right? So it, realistically, it should play a factor in that if you have a choice. All right, cool. So 3 factors, all right? So this is the strategy part of it. There's 3 factors going to help you show up first in maps and search. All right, so let's dig into these one at a time. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on these. These are just kind of like FYI, this is how the Google algorithm works, right? So there's prominence, there's relevance, and there's location or proximity. So prominence is basically how good are you, right? How long have you been around? How many web properties do you have? Like how many social media profiles are you active on? Google has there's over 200 ranking factors in Google's algorithm. Like they're looking at like so many different things that are, beyond the scope of this training right now. But If you've been in business a while and your website is listed on a lot of directories and websites and a lot of social profiles and things like that, that's going to give you an advantage. If you've got a lot of reviews, like these guys down in Georgia, that's going to definitely help you. Your rank, your rating, 5.0, 1,000 reviews. Obviously, that's kind of an anomaly, but I just wanted to put it here for an example. Your NAP consistency is your name, address, and phone number. How consistent your contact info is across the web. It sounds like it's something that's not very important, that's not very consequential, but it's actually very important when it comes to local SEO, when it comes to Google Maps. And we're going to dig into that a little bit. So prominence is basically like, how legit are you? How popular are you? Some of that takes a little bit of time. If you're just starting out, you're not going to have this stuff, but this is stuff that you can build up over time, which we'll get into in the tactical aspect of this training. Next one would be relevance. So optimizing your Google My Business profile to let people know exactly what you do, right? So Google's goal is to keep us on their platform as much as possible. Much like Facebook's goal is to keep us on Facebook the whole day if they can. Google wants to make sure that we're coming back to Google over and over. Google it, search for this, search for that. So they have an incentive to show us the most relevant local search results. If they continue to serve us good results, we're going to continue to use Google. If Google, didn't serve us like good, relevant, valuable results, we might be tempted to go check out another search engine or search somewhere else for whatever it is we're looking for. So they want to, if I'm searching for roofing contractors near me, their algorithm is looking around for, okay, who are the Google Maps, where are the listings that show exactly what this person is searching for. So we're going to show you how to optimize your profile. This is simple stuff, but just to make sure that you have the categories right, you have your services listed so that when Google's algorithm is scouring all the maps listings, then you have the best chance possible to show up. So it's like, what do? You want to be specific and you want to optimize your profile. We're going to show you how to do that. Next thing is proximity, which is simply location. Went over this a little bit with the DC example. Where are you? Where's your location? Where's your services? Again, it's going to be easier to show up the closer that search is to your location. The further you go out, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But again, we're going to show you what to do to give yourself the best possible chance of showing up in as big of a radius as possible. So we've got prominence, we've got relevance, and we've got proximity. Those are the three big factors that Google is looking at when they are ranking those maps results. So I think we're ready to get into the kind of meat and potatoes of this. I'm going to give you a checklist, and at the end, we're going to have an opportunity for you to download a free cheat sheet, a free checklist that we've created that helps you set everything up correctly, and that gives you kind of a weekly checklist. So if you're an owner, I know we've got a lot of owners on here. If you're a marketing manager, you can task someone in your company, to spend an hour per week and just work on this stuff, right? This isn't something that you're going to leave today, you're going to go implement, and your phone's going to be ringing off the hook tomorrow. I wish I could promise you that, but I can't. This is something that you chip away at every week and you just consistently improve, okay? So the idea here is to build out this checklist and give someone in your office, in your company, or yourself, calendar off an hour a week just to work on this consistently. All right, so the first checklist I'm going to go through today is setting up and optimizing your profile. So you go to google.com/business or business.google.com, one and the same, doesn't matter how you get there, but you'll go there and ideally you have this already set up. If not, go through the simple steps. Google will walk you through it. In some cases, if like maybe someone else in your company set this up for you, or like a marketer or marketing agency set this up for you, you might need to go through the process of adding yourself as an owner or an admin on your own Google My Business, but you want to make sure that you have access to this. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to walk through these individual steps in the next slides here. We're going to pick a name, address, and phone number, and we're going to stick to it. We're going to complete our business info. We're going to turn on our preview call history to make sure that we can track how many calls we're getting from our Google My Business. We're going to turn on messaging so people can message us directly from our Maps listing. And then we're going to get into a couple additional things where you can see where you're ranking in different areas, and you can see how you're appearing across the web, so that you can improve everything over time. It's hard to improve what we're not measuring, or hard to manage what we're not measuring, Peter Drucker. So we want to be able to measure what we're doing so we can continually improve over time. So getting into the first step of setting up and optimizing would be the name, address, and phone number. All right. So this is kind of geeky here. Again, this might not sound very important, but the consistency of your name, your business name, and your address and your phone number across the web is very, very important. It's one of those things that Google just considers like, hey, if you have all that stuff dialed in, that's like you're legit, you have your act together, and you're more trustworthy, you're more established. All right. I know there's a lot of companies out there that might have variations of their company name. You might have ABC Roofing on Facebook, and then you might have ABC Roofing and Siding on Yelp. You might have ABC Roofing and Exterior somewhere else. It's very common, very, very common to have different variations of your company name, just because people are setting these different social profiles up differently and not looking at being consistent. So ideally, you want to be as consistent as possible. Same with your address, right? You might have your address as 123 Main Street, and street is spelled out STREET. And another place it's listed 123 Main Street where it's ST period. Those are two slightly different variations of your address, even though it means the same thing. Even though if I send a piece of mail to each address, it's going to end up at the same place. Obviously, online, you want to have that format as consistent as possible. Same thing if you have like a suite number or unit number, you can have the number sign number 2. You can have unit 2. You can have suite 2. You can have building 2. Whatever. Those are all different variations. You want to make sure that's as consistent as possible. So the way that you do this is obviously just pick your company name and be consistent with whatever your company is registered as, or whatever it is that you're going to put in Google. Keep that consistent, and then you're going to type your address into Google My Business. And whatever Google kind of gives you in their database is what you should use, right? So take that Google address and make sure that that's the one that's on your website. Make sure that's the one that's on your Facebook, on your Yelp, on your LinkedIn, on everywhere where your business information is listed. Make sure that it's consistent with that Google My Business listing, because we want to play by Google's rules, right? We live in their world. So go with what Google says. Make sure everything is as consistent as possible. If your business phone number is textable, that's gonna help as well. That's just the best practice in general these days. People like to text, and if you want to get an idea of how consistent or inconsistent your information is across the web, then you can go to either brightlocal.com or you can go to moz.com. And you can get a report on all the places where your business is listed on the web. And you can see all the variations of your company name, all the variations of your address, maybe different phone numbers that you've had across, over different years. You might have your cell phone, you might have your business number, you might have a toll-free number. So you can sign up for a free trial with either one of these two, just to check out where you're at. And then you can pay them on a monthly basis if you want help, like making sure those are as consistent as possible. I do recommend those services. There's no affiliate, no commission or anything in it for me or anything like that. They're just services that we've used over the years that are really reputable, that will help you get this stuff consistent. It does, there is a monthly fee to those, but in my experience and in best practices, it is worth it to make sure everything's consistent. So pick an NAP and stick to it. All right, so there's some work to be done in completing your business information. Again, we're in business.google.com, your Google My Business dashboard. You can pick up to 10 business categories, all right? So you want to include as many as you can here. You get your primary category. So if you're a roofing contractor, you want to make sure that roofing contractor is your primary category. You can also add siding contractor. I think it's a window installation company. You can add general contractor. If there's other things that you do, you can do gutter. There might be something for gutters. I'm not sure off the top of my head. But once you start searching, Google will populate the options available to you. So choose as many as you can and make sure, again, roofing company or roofing contractor is the primary category because that's going to have more weight. Again, when someone's searching for these services in your local area, if you have these as your business categories, then you're giving yourself a better chance of showing up in those 3 results. Inside those categories or underneath those categories, you can have individual services. So roofing contractor might be the category, and then you can have as your services roof repair, roof replacements, different things like that. Emergency services. Google gives you a list to choose from, or you can choose a custom service as well. You might have roof cleaning or roof max if that's something that you do. So you can include those things as well. Make sure you have a built-out business description to tell people what you do. It's going to help you show up. Hours is one that a lot of people can probably modify based on what I'm going to tell you here. So if you have a physical office and your office is open 9 to 5, and that's when someone's answering the phone, you might be tempted to put 9 to 5 in there. But you should expand your business hours, because if someone is searching for roofing contractors in Alexandria, Virginia at 9 o'clock tonight, Google is going to give slight preference to companies that their business hours match up to that time, right? So if you say you're closed at 5 o'clock, someone's searching at 9 p.m., then you're putting yourself at a slight disadvantage because you're not technically open, right? So if you can expand your hours, maybe 24/7 if you want, or whatever it is, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., you're going to give yourself a little bit better of a chance to show up when people are searching, late at night or on the weekends. So don't just include the hours when someone's actually answering the phone in your office or when your office is open for business. Expand those hours to, as much as you want. Service areas. Google gives you the option to add up to 20 here. So obviously your primary location, pretty straightforward. And then you can kind of, pull up a map and just list those individual areas, those little suburbs or, whatever it is. That's going to give you a little bit of an opportunity to show up in towns in which you're not located. All right. Add your website, pretty straightforward. Well, Josh will get into that a little bit more. You can add an appointment link. So if you use like Calendly, or you have a landing page, or you have an appointment scheduler page, or a quote request page on your website, you can put that directly there so that people can click that and go directly to that page on your website and schedule an appointment. You can include attributes for roofing companies. The only real attribute that's going to be relevant would be like online estimates or online quotes or something like that. Not a huge deal. And then you want to add photos. Add as many photos as you want to set up. Maybe add 10 to set up your Google My Business. And then we're going to, on a weekly basis, we're going to be adding a couple business photos as well. So that's your business info. This is really important. Spend a half an hour to an hour just making sure everything is as completely filled out as possible. Again, giving you the best chance to show up. Next thing is to turn on preview call history. This is a relatively new thing that Google has put out. So from the home menu on your Google My Business dashboard, I just took screenshots. It's going to look like this: preview call history, and then how it works. So how this works is your normal business phone number is still going to show up in your Maps listing. All right, people are going to see the normal business phone number. But when people click on that, Google's going to insert like a little forwarding number there. And so you can go into your Google My Business dashboard or into the Google Google My Business app on your phone or iPad, and you can see how many calls you got. I think it extends the past 45 days. So you can, go on a monthly basis or weekly basis and say, hey, we got 30 calls through our Google Maps listing this month. That's pretty awesome, right? We want to be able to attribute where we're getting our calls from. So That's something that most people don't have turned on, but you can turn on that call history. It's free. It doesn't require any work beyond just pressing these 2 buttons, and then you have that dashboard, that history of calls. Next thing is to turn on messaging. So Google used to have the opportunity or the option where you could you get text messages to your business phone number. They've switched it over to now there's messaging, which is basically Google My Business messaging platform, which is available through the GMB app, again, on your phone or iPad, right? So you go into the dashboard of your Google My Business, you can turn on messaging. And when you turn that on, you can, here's an example of my buddy, Eric Richardson, out in roofing, out in San Diego, roofing specialist in San Diego. Eric might be on here live or watching the recording. I know he registered. But here's this button, request a quote, right? People can request a quote directly from your Google My Business listing. This is a search that I did for a roofing specialist of San Diego on my desktop, right? So this is a branded search. I'm actually searching for this company. I don't even have to go to his website. I can just request a quote right here. On the mobile, if you're searching on Google Maps or Google browser on mobile, there's going to be an opportunity to send a message directly to this company. And then as a company owner or admin, you can go in again to your app and you can look at your messages. You can respond to messages right there on your GMB app. So again, it's a great way to keep track of what you're getting from your Maps listing. Not many people have that turned on yet. So that's just a very quick, easy, again, free thing that everyone can do. Next, this is a little bit more advanced. If you do want to have an idea of where you're showing up. So Josh brought up the great example before of Alexandria. I want to see if I'm showing up in DC or, Georgetown or wherever. You can go to one of these 2 sites, Local Viking or Local Falcon. I think they might have free trials. They are paid services. Again, I just endorse them because I know they're legit. Nothing in it for me to recommend those. But you can see where you are ranking in the Google Maps, right? So this business in this screenshot example is probably located right here in the middle, right? So as when you're close to your location, you're going to be able to show up in those top 3 results. As you get, further and further from your address, it's going to be more difficult to show up. The ongoing work that we're going to talk about will give you a better chance to show up in a larger radius. And that's why it's so important to do this on a consistent basis. There are some more advanced things you can do as well, but this is kind of how it works, right? Again, it's going to be pretty straightforward for you to rank in your own town. But as you kind of get further from that, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, again, because Google prefers the local search results. So local Falcon, Local Viking, go check those out if you want to, get the report to see where you're at. I think you probably do a free trial and then, continue on from there if you'd like. Next, all right, so this is going to wrap it up for kind of my portion. So that's your setup, all right? We want to make sure it's set up, but it's not a set it and forget it thing. Just like social media isn't, just like anything else in our business, it's not set it and forget it. We need to make sure that we're doing these things consistently. So over here in the blue, I put schedule it weekly and spend 1 hour per week. If you or someone in your company or your marketing person can spend 1 hour a week doing these activities, then you are going to be able to show up in the top 3 for more local searches. You can post photos, right? So just want to keep it simple. Post 2 photos a week. Keep them fresh. There are some more advanced ways to geotag your photos. Local Falcon and Local Viking will help you do that. That's one advantage that those 2 services provide. They'll help you geotag your photos. So just gives you a little bit more juice with your photos, but at a minimum, just post 2 project photos a week or team photos or, customer photos, whatever it is. You can actually create GMB posts. So these are like little blog posts that you create in your Google My Business. They have a shelf life of 7 days. You can create those. If you create one a week, it ensures that you always have something fresh. Doesn't need to be too long. It can just simply be, hey, we completed this project for this homeowner in Alexandria, Virginia. They have a brand new CertainTeed roofing system with a lifetime warranty. And, that's it. That can be a very simple post, 100 words. Keep it nice and simple. Josh, I think your mic might be giving some feedback or something. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's better. Thank you. Reply to Google reviews. All right. This is something, if you can do it daily, fantastic, but no need to do it daily. If you can do it on a weekly basis, that's awesome. Just go in and reply to all your Google reviews. People see that, right? People that are searching for your company, they're checking out reviews because everyone is. If you're in there as the owner replying to reviews, positive, negative, or there's not really any neutral reviews, I guess, or they're positive or negative. If you're in there replying, that really builds a lot of trust with your prospects. So just make it a system to reply to Google reviews. People can ask questions from your Google My Business profile. So, make sure you're going in there weekly, answering those questions. If you want to answer them same day, great. But just at a minimum, make sure that you're checking in every week to make sure that you're answering all those questions. Most businesses don't get a ton of questions, but, just make sure that you have all your questions answered. You can go into your Google My Business dashboard and review your insights, either on your web browser or in your app, and review your insights. Your insights are going to show you how many people clicked through to your website from your Google Maps listing, how many people called you, how many people messaged you, what people are searching for that enabled your Google Maps listing to show up. It's going to give you a lot of good insights. So you can see, again, if you're improving over time. If you are doing the local Falcon or local Viking ranking report, you can check that on a weekly basis. Not really going to change too much on a weekly basis, more so like maybe on a monthly basis, but just check in to see where you're at. You can check into your Bright Local or your Moz, like I mentioned before, and fix any of those name, address, phone number issues. Those services also have the ability to have that done for you, where they can help you do that. Which is, I would recommend that because it is kind of a lot of manual work. But on a weekly basis, if you can go in and just do these things, doesn't require a lot of time, but just that consistency over time, it's going to pay off tremendously in your business. So after Josh is done, we'll have an opportunity to download like a little spreadsheet that you and your team can use just to check these off every week, just to make it a fail-safe, a foolproof way to make sure that these things are getting done. So I think that's all I have on my end here, Josh, before I pass it over to you.
Yeah, good stuff. And we had some questions come in, and I think it might make sense to address those now rather than at the end. So a couple questions is, what do you do if you don't have a physical address for an office? What's the strategy there?
Yeah, no, that's going to be the case for a lot of people. You can use your home. I know some people don't like to do that. You can actually use your home address, and you can make your address not visible in Google My Business. It's not going to be the greatest, but it's something. You can also try to do the old PO box trick. Get a post office box. Google has been cracking down on that over the past few years. I mean, they're much smarter than we are, right? So they actually they have a database of PO boxes and virtual offices. And if you put an address in that's going to that's a PO box, they're going to kind of reference their database to see if it's legit or not, right? So you might be able to sneak under the radar with that, but increasingly it's harder to do that. If you're going to do the PO box thing, one of the kind of hacks, and I don't really like to recommend hacks, but like if you're going to do it, don't put like PO Box 87 in Springfield, New Jersey. Put the actual address of the post office. So like 123 Main Street, and then put number 87, and then put the town. That'll help a little bit, but those are the two things that I'd recommend. Either use your home address or try the PO box thing until you have an actual address.
Yeah, and Joe, a lot of contractors, a lot of giant office buildings are always looking for tenants right now. I mean, you see that everywhere you go. And what we had at my last company is we had somebody actually take a suite. It didn't exist, but it was a suite So it was like Suite 204. It wasn't actually like you couldn't actually go to Suite 204, but they talked to the property manager and they got access to that address where the mail came in. So there's some tricky ways to get around it, like you mentioned, Joe. But hopefully, doing things like these can help grow your business so that you can have a physical address, right?
Yeah, and I will say, like, this is a long-term thing, and I think it goes into Caesar's question as well. Like, what happens when you move location? So, like, don't be so quick just to get an address just to have it, because if you do change or you do move, it's kind of a big deal, right? You need to basically start over from scratch and change the address on every single directory, social profile, website, everything that you have online. It's a process. So think long-term, not short-term with this stuff.
Consistency is everything.
Yep.
And then Mandy had a question about messages. There's a Google My Business app. So just go to the App Store and download it, and they'll alert you when there's a message. Cool. Yeah. So let's jump into actually what to do after you get those leads, right? So the big piece is capitalizing on the leads that you are getting, making sure that you're setting more appointments with those leads. Here at Hatch, we honestly have analyzed probably hundreds of thousands of conversations. So we have found sort of what works in the sense of lead follow-up after the lead comes in, either through like a contact us form or a web chat, and how to actually get that appointment scheduled. There's a lot of times there's contractors that are leaving meat on the bones, right? So that they get a new lead and then they follow up once, they don't get a response, they kind of give up. So I want to talk through some strategies that we found to be really effective to get lead follow-up, kind of on autopilot for your business. And if you don't want to use a tool like Hatch to do your lead follow-up, at least, have somebody assigned to do that lead follow-up and make sure that they're on top of the leads as quickly as possible. So taking a step back to actually what we call the funnel, and top of funnel being, somebody goes in, searches, and then goes to your website. So Joe mentioned that you have the ability to customize the links. This is one of our customers, Long Home Products up in Maryland, large exterior company. And they customize their link, their appointment link right here to be their contact us page. So this is just like low-hanging fruit that you guys can do to your listing right now to direct traffic to the right page, right? So if somebody's looking for roofers in Savage, Maryland, for example, and they click that link, that shows intent, right? So make sure that you're funneling people who are ready for an appointment into that appointment page instead of having them go on your website and search for or get a free estimate. Have that ability to have that direct link to the contact us page. It'll help you guys convert more of your website visitors, because that's really the goal here. So once you do, convert those website visitors, obviously it's important to follow up with them as quickly as possible. Another really good way to capitalize on your website visitors is through web chat. We like to use chat to text. This is a tool that we have. There's a lot of companies that offer it, but Hatch, this is an example of it, where you put in your phone number, you have a message right here. So for example, here's my phone number, I'm interested in pricing, and you click text me. And when you click text me, that kicks off that automated text message. So this essentially allows you to connect with that homeowner after they leave your website. And so that's a big piece here. There's a lot of web chat services out there that just provide on-site chat. I'm sure you guys have seen them, you may use them. But what we found to be more effective in order to actually set the appointment is to almost go with the visitor after they leave their site. It's the equivalent of somebody walking around with you in a showroom and you stay in their pocket in their cell phone after they walk out instead of just talking to you during the showroom. So it's super effective to incorporate texting in your business and also collecting that number as quickly as possible on your site so that you can follow up. So in this example here, using that web chat example here, we got an inbound text from that chat, interested in pricing. If you have a software to do that, Hatch, we're happy to help you with that. Automate that response as quickly as possible. I know if you're using Google messaging for your Google My Business listing, they allow you to do automated responses. Make sure you turn those on so that way you can instantly respond to the homeowner. And then from there, you can jump in and, handle that inquiry, which in this case is this person's interested in pricing. So this is what it looks like from our side. We send a push notification, interested in pricing. You can jump in and say, hey, are you looking to repair or replace your roof? Whatever that scripting is in your business, that enables you to jump in and respond. But the big piece here is that if you are doing some sort of messaging, whether it be through Google My Business or from your website through a web chat or website through a web form, make sure that you're automating that outreach, because chances are they're going to be looking around for other quotes, right? So if you're the first person to get to that lead, it's going to help you guys set more appointments. And the data speaks for itself, right? You're 7 times, this is a study from Harvard Business Review. They analyze data from a bunch of small businesses. You're 7 times more likely to set an appointment if you respond to a new lead in 1 hour versus 2 hours. And I believe it's 21 times more likely to actually close a deal if you respond in less than 5 minutes. So speed is absolutely critical. That automated follow-up is absolutely critical. So make sure you're automating it if at all possible. If you don't have something that can automate, make sure you have somebody assigned to that follow-up, and they're held to these expectations that they need to get to leads as quickly as possible. Some more interesting data: 63% of Google searches are actually on mobile devices, which plays really well to the click-to-call functionality on Google Maps there. But what we're also finding is that from the inbound standpoint, when you get people on your website, 97% of those consumers are actually going to ignore your call when they click request quote or they submit their information in some way, shape, or form. So what we found to be super effective here at Hatch, working with customers on their automated follow-up, is texting as that initial touch point. And what's interesting is recent data shows that 95% of texts are actually read within 3 minutes versus phone calls, which can go through call screeners. They can be marked as spam by the carrier. I know Verizon has some functionality there. There's a lot of apps that screen calls. So I'm not saying don't call, but leading with text is absolutely critical to help you guys be first to the lead and beat your competitors. This is an example of sort of this 3-pronged approach that I like to encourage contractors to do when they're doing their follow-up on a quote request. So in this case, we send a text here on the left-hand side. Hi, Matt. This is Josh with ABC Contracting. Here I see that you're looking to replace your roof. Do you have a few minutes to chat? We also send an email, and we also drop a voicemail. These are kind of a 3-pronged approach: text, email, and voicemail. We find to be super effective. And the key piece here is the personalization. It's important not to just say, hey, I received your request, we'll be in touch shortly. No, you have that data from the web form that they submitted. If they said they're looking to replace the roof, if you've got a drop down that says like repair, replace, siding, windows, whatever you guys are offering, make sure that you're referencing that in your initial follow-up. Whether you're doing it automatically through a tool like Hatch or you're doing it manually through a call center, make sure that you have that data so that you personalize your outreach and provide that white glove service that you guys provide throughout that install process. And you're going to have instances where somebody doesn't respond, right? So we send these texts, we send an email, we send a voicemail. We're trying to get people to engage with us, set that appointment. But what we're finding is a lot of times people don't respond until maybe the 2nd or 3rd touch point, right? They might be at work, they might be at lunch, they might be doing something something's going on in the background and they don't have time to actually chat. It's important to continue to follow up. And so today I want to provide you guys with just a quick playbook on how to actually set more appointments. And we're finding that if people employ this strategy in their business, you're actually going to end up setting around 20% more appointments. It's this 3-pronged approach: text, email, call, or leave a voicemail. We've got some cool tech that actually drops a voicemail directly in their cell phone. So it's just like we call it a voicemail drop or a ringless voicemail. That's super effective because we're like, hey, I just shot you a text. Give me a call back or shoot me a text back. That seems to be really effective. But lead comes in, send them a text, send them an email, send them a voicemail. On the 2nd day, send them a text follow-up, and make sure you're doing this. Make sure you're diligent. If you're not automating it, make sure somebody sets a reminder in their phone. Make sure they set a reminder in your CRM. Whatever you guys are using, make sure you are doing this, because if you're not doing it, you're letting leads just slip through the cracks, straight up. We're finding that people are letting 20% of the leads oftentimes slip through the cracks just by not doing this follow-up. Day 4, maybe introduce an offer that you have on your website, maybe have some image of a recently completed project, something to get somebody to respond, something enticing. And then, of course, what I call the breakup text on the last day, day 7, the breakup. This is, hey, you still looking to pursue? If not, I'll go ahead and close your file. I find the word close your file is really effective when you send a text, because people are like, oh, no, I'm still interested. It's kind of like that incites a response. So I encourage you guys, maybe use your subject line in your email to be close your file, ? Or your text is, hey, been reaching out for the past few days, don't want to be a bother, should I go ahead and close your file? That's really effective as well. So just some scripting tips for you guys to have in your business. If you go to our website, usehatchapp.com, you go to our blog, we've got a lot of scripts that you guys can just copy paste in your business. So I encourage you guys to check that out there. So I want to show you an example, and this is a bath fitter franchise, but I've seen this work across all industries, including roofing and siding. But what I wanted to point out here is the amount of times that we followed up with this homeowner. So February 13th, the person was buying their leads from modernized Quinn Street, and they didn't get a response. I'm sure you guys have seen this. If you guys are buying leads, it's tough to get a response initially. They had to follow up on the 13th. They had to follow up on the 18th. And then eventually on the 19th, they followed up one last time. I had a note to follow up and book some time and get you a quote to something closer to the end of the week work. This was all automated, okay? Weldon finally responded and said, all right, what day can you come? Says, yeah, we got a 1 p.m. available. And they're using Hatch to do this, but this could be, your emails, could be your own text messaging on your iPhone. Whatever you guys are doing, just make sure you're following up, because this job ended up selling for about $5,800, right? So I got to say, just follow up. I'm going to keep beating a dead horse here, but if you don't follow up, you're just letting leads slip through the cracks. Here at Hatch, we got a tool to automate this. You can build what we call a campaign, where day 1, we can customize the text. Day 2, send a text, email, and voicemail. All customizable to your business. We've got templates for roofers as well in here, and they're just click and go, and it's really effective. We put it all on autopilot. All you got to do is just jump in when the lead responds. So, again, if at all possible, automate it. And oftentimes, and I'm jumping really quickly here just to want to be respectful of your time, when you do follow up with these leads and eventually maybe they go through the breakup text and they don't actually respond, which happens, I get it. It's important that you have what we call a nurture strategy. And this is sort of just a bonus for this webinar. This has nothing to do with Google My Business, but I want to encourage you guys to employ what we call a nurture strategy. Pull those dead leads from your CRM and engage with them in some way. What we find to be really effective is providing value. And this is something that Joe at Contractor Dynamics does a really good job at teaching and training on is this content, having something on your website you can provide as value. For example, in this case, we're sending them information about how to avoid fraud when it comes to a roof inspection. In this example, it's Omaha homeowners want to make sure you choose a roofing company you can trust. Check out what your neighbors say about their experience working with us. You can send them a video. Right? So somebody came through your process. They came through maybe your Google My Business listing. Maybe they came through a Facebook ad. They filled out the form on the website. They just didn't get back to you. Keep peppering them. Seriously, keep peppering them. It works. You got a CRM. Most of you guys do have a CRM. Take those dead leads and engage with them over text, engage with them over email with this type of content. It is proven to be super, super effective. So just kind of wrap things up. Joe, you mentioned that we were going to be sharing the